My wife grabbed the steering wheel while I was driving and ended up in a coma. When she woke up, I told her I was divorcing her because I found her darkest secret, so she went insane and had to be admitted to a psych ward. She broke free and is now trying to go near our kids, so I'm being forced to act more extreme than ever. My wife told me to go look for her, then got mad when I did. My wife of 17 years is in a coma right now. The good news is that the doctors are expecting her to recover fully, but at this point, I don't know if I even want her to. We've always had a beautiful relationship, until a few nights ago when I was lying in bed awake because it was 3 a.m. and she still wasn't home. I wanted to believe she was okay and nothing was going on, but deep down, I knew that wasn't the case. A couple years ago, she had almost gotten herself culled when her Uber driver took her to our home, but instead of stopping and letting her out, he kept driving towards his apartment. She thankfully escaped, but ever since then, we made a promise that if she wasn't home when she said she'd be, I would look for her. And so I did. I got out of bed, got in my car, and started speeding to her friend Zoe's place. That's when my wife sent me something. It was a picture of sorts, but right as I went to open it, she quickly deleted it. I immediately called her, but she declined instantly. I panicked, wondering what was going on, and when I finally arrived at Zoe's place, I called her, and she opened the door for me. I walked in, and when I heard a faint giggle coming from upstairs, I started making my way up, but Zoe grabbed my hand and quickly told me Mia wasn't upstairs, so I didn't need to go up there. The way she said it felt very off. It was nervous, anxious. I disregarded her and kept walking, all while she started trying to literally pull me down. I managed to get her off, and when I got upstairs, that's when I saw it. My wife was in the guest bedroom with a guy I've never seen. They were cuddling, laughing. My head started spinning and I just lost control. Next thing I knew, I was on the floor wailing blows on the guy over and over. Zoe screamed at me, calling me a psychopath, and she and Mia scrambled to pull me off of him. They eventually did, and I right away told them both that I was leaving, and that Mia had 5 minutes to be in my car, or I'm going home without her. She followed me downstairs immediately, mascara streaming down her face. She kept saying sorry the whole ride home, but I just ignored her, and that made her angry. She began screaming, calling me psycho for following her at night, but I still wasn't responding, so she did the only thing she could think of. She grabbed the steering wheel. Our car swerved, and we scared another vehicle in the opposite lane. That vehicle veered straight into us, and we smashed through a guardrail at 60 miles per hour. Mia's body jerked violently, and she passed out on the spot. Our kids still don't know we've been in an accident. I haven't called anyone. I'm sitting here beside her in her sleep right now, machines breathing for her, and I'm having panic attacks trying to process my own feelings. A huge part of me wants to just walk out of this room. I want to call her parents, tell them what she did and what happened, and let them know she's their problem again after all these years. We said, for better or worse, and I meant it, but we're no longer married. Part of me wants to leave her a note saying too bad worse happened after she ended our relationship. The only thing keeping me in this damn room is my children. I want to see them so badly right now, but I have scratches on my face and neck. They'd know something happened if they saw me. As much as I feel my wife has defiled herself and our family, my kids need her. I thought I had a life partner, and as horrible as she turned out to be, my children need a mom. There will be talks I'm not qualified to have. There will be injuries that need kisses instead of being told to walk it off. I'm a damn good father, but I can't be a mother too. I clutch my phone, scrolling through pictures of the kids. Logan at his baseball game last weekend, hitting a double and grinning as he stood on second base. Ella drawing a picture of our family with her favorite purple crayon, all of us holding hands with giant smiles. How do I tell them their family isn't what they thought it was? How do I protect them from what's coming? Please help me. How can I sit here and look at someone who has stabbed me in the back so cruelly? Should I call her parents to come? What do I tell them? I really don't want to be here, especially with her parents. If I don't tell them what she did, they'll know I'm angry. What do I tell my children? Yes, I can tell them we were in an accident, but I can't fake emotion like Mia apparently can. When I loathe someone, it shows on my face. They'll know I'm angry at their mother. How did my life come to this? I know I need to see a lawyer. I figured that much out. But how do I handle this? Every time a nurse comes in to check on Mia, they give me sympathetic looks, assuming I'm the worried, loving husband. If they only knew the truth, they'd understand why my hands are shaking with anger instead of concern. The hospital coffee I've been drinking tastes like acid, burning my empty stomach. I haven't eaten since yesterday. Update. For some reason, I couldn't respond to questions from my first post. It might be because this is a throwaway account. I could reply to comments, but nobody could see them except me. I tried posting this update in the Infidelity sub last night but had issues. Hopefully the same glitch doesn't happen with this update, and I can provide feedback for others to better assist me. My apologies to anyone who responded. I appreciated your help. After my initial post that day, I decided to stay one more night in that hospital room. With Mia sedated and the lights out, I laid back in the recliner staring at the ceiling, listening to the medical machines. I wondered how my life had reached this point. Part of me felt I was showing undeserved mercy just by being in the same room, yet part of me still loved her. I didn't want to feel that love. I actually felt weak for having any positive feelings toward her. I kept realizing there was no fixing things back to how they were. It was as if some natural disaster had destroyed the life we built. I cried so hard. I realized a huge part of my life was over, a moment of enormous significance. When the nurse came to take blood the next morning, I excused myself. When Mia woke, she saw me heading out the door and called to me, but I pretended not to hear. I went and got breakfast. I haven't had much appetite since finding out. I tried to kill time eating and scrolling through my phone. The hospital cafeteria was nearly empty at that hour. I stared at my untouched scrambled eggs as they grew cold. A janitor mopping nearby glanced at me occasionally with concerned eyes. I must have looked like hell. Unshaven, clothes wrinkled from sleeping in the chair, eyes red from crying and lack of sleep. There was an unread text from Zoe asking where Mia was. I decided at 7 a.m. it was late enough to knock on her parents' door. Her dad was always an early riser. I planned to talk to him first, and if he thought his wife needed to hear it, he could wake her. I saw smoke coming from the wood stove in his workshop out back, so I knocked on the door before entering. He noticed the scratches on my neck and bruise on my cheek. I explained there had been an accident. Mia got the worst of it, but we needed to talk. I think he assumed I meant about the accident, so he woke my mother-in-law to hear what I had to say. We sat in the kitchen as I explained how a car in the oncoming lane veered into our lane around a curve. With the heavier vehicle and four-wheel drive, I managed to keep us on the road until we hit the guardrail. The passenger side door caught one of the vertical I-beams mounted in concrete. Even with side airbags, Mia hit hard. She had serious injuries, but I told them she was stable and expected to recover fully. They both cried cried knowing their daughter had suffered, but would still be around for them to love. As soon as they started saying they'd help take care of Mia, I stopped them and explained the accident wasn't what I'd come to tell them about. They looked confused as I described waking up that morning, sending a text, then heading out in the snow to check on their daughter. I told them about walking in on Mia and some guy I'd never seen and unconsciously beating him repeatedly. They were shocked. I gave them her hospital room number and explained I always wanted them in the kids' lives, so I hoped we could stay friendly. I told them my dad was watching the kids, but I was divorcing their daughter since she'd broken our vows and wasn't my wife anymore. I was leaving to tell the kids about the accident and that we were splitting up. I wasn't going to tell them their mother cheated. I told my in-laws that while I hated how things ended, at least I could say I wasn't the one who destroyed our marriage. They tried telling me not to be hasty, that she made a mistake, and all the usual excuses. I just smiled, said I'd loved having them as in-laws, and walked out. Her father's face had gone from shock to anger to sadness in the span of minutes. He gripped his coffee mug so tightly, I thought it might shatter. Her mother kept repeating, "No, no, no," in disbelief. The kitchen clock ticked loudly in the silence between our words. The smell of fresh-baked bread from their counter, normally so comforting, now seemed to mock the wholesome family life that had just been shattered. When I got to my dad's, I had so much to get off my chest. I entered through the kitchen where my dad was having coffee. All he knew was that I was supposed to be on a cruise. He stood and asked what I was doing there. I just grabbed him, hugged him, and cried like a child. It was the kind of thing where you want to know what's happening, but since someone needs to cry it out first. He led me to the den and sat me on the couch while he got my mom. We both urged her to have coffee first, but she knew if I was there alone that early, something bad had happened. I first explained about Mia cheating, me catching her, and leaving Zoe's. Then I explained the accident and Mia injuries. I told her parents only an hour before so they could visit her. My parents were stunned. Mom finally asked what I was going to do. They both cried when I said my only option was to divorce Mia and be the best father I could for my children. As our conversation wound down, I heard my daughter Ella squeal, "Daddy!" and run down the stairs toward me. That woke Logan, who joined us minutes later. I hadn't seen them in what felt like forever. I spent time hugging them, happy to see them. They eventually noticed my scratches. I told them about the accident and that their mommy was in the hospital but would be fine. I said Mia's parents would eventually pick them up to take them to see her and left it at that. I spent the day playing, talking, holding, napping with, and laughing with my children. Those two made me want to live again. Until that point, I was honestly about 50-50 on wanting to go on. But they're worth living for, protecting, and cherishing. Logan showed me his new video game, explaining every detail with excitement. Ella brought her favorite stuffed unicorn for me to meet. Their innocence was both heartbreaking and healing. They had no idea their world was about to change completely. Mia's phone was destroyed in the crash, so nobody had heard from her for days. That night, I started getting texts from my mother-in-law's phone that I knew were from Mia. I ignored them. They continued off and on through the night. I turned off notifications. The next day, I spoke with 3 law offices about filing for divorce. I can't say I want or need a legal divorce, but that will divide assets and determine custody. What she does with whom is no longer my concern. I've met with 2 firms and like the second one quite a bit. I'll meet with a 3rd highly rated lawyer to see if he impresses me. If not, I'm going with the second firm's top divorce attorney. Either way, I'll have removed 3 top legal resources from her list of candidates. A win in my book. Custody is my primary focus. I'm not going for full custody and wouldn't want it if I could get it. They need their mother. But because of what she did, she can never again be part of my life. A go-between can handle drop-offs. There's no reason for me to ever speak to her again. I obviously never knew her, so why would I continue interacting with a stranger? Each time my phone chimed with another text from her, my stomach knotted. I finally silenced it completely. Though the temptation to read her excuses and pleas was strong, part of me wanted to hear what she could possibly say to justify destroying everything we built. Another part knew no explanation would ever be enough. Update 1. I'm not sure where to begin or what to say. I guess first, I did get a very good lawyer. Her firm is rated highest at representing men in divorce cases in my area. Instead of passing my case to someone else, she took it herself. Everyone at the firm has been kind and supportive. I can tell they care beyond getting their retainer and payoff. Tara, my lawyer, has done everything to help with my well-being and sanity. After agreeing to take my case, we filled out the usual forms. I listed property, bank accounts, and income estimates. After explaining the accident and what happened before it, she asked if I'd had an STD panel. I said I had, and everything came back clean. She then asked if I had documented the infidelity with pictures or video. I said I hadn't been thinking rationally enough to do that. She called a PI her firm uses and set up a meeting for the next day. I live in an at-fault state, so while I knew Mia was unfaithful, I needed evidence for the divorce to go my way. We arranged for one of her staff to be the go-between for communication with Mia dad and drop-offs. I had her aide notify my soon-to-be ex-father-in-law that Mia could have the kids that upcoming weekend and following week. Tara then asked if I'd arranged therapy for me and the children. I explained I had my first appointment that week, but since the children hadn't been told anything yet, I was holding off for them. She said to let her know when I felt they needed professional help, as she could recommend several therapists. She seemed sincerely sorry for what I was going through. I tend to dislike lawyers, but I think I found one with an actual soul. She gave me a list of things to collect and do before our next meeting. Many instructions matched advice from users here. So when she told me to get 2 DNA kits from the drugstore, I thought nothing of it. I knew it was standard protocol. When I got home with the kids that night, I did the cheek swabs for me and them, sealed everything, and mailed the kits after taking the kids to school the next morning. Tara's office was immaculate, all dark wood and leather with floor-to-ceiling bookshelves. The atmosphere was serious, but comfortable. She wore a navy suit with subtle pearl earrings, professional but approachable. Her handshake was firm, and she maintained eye contact throughout our conversation. I felt immediately that she understood what I was going through without pity or judgment. 2 days later, Friday, the go-between dropped the kids with their grandfather for the weekend. I went to work and was returning from lunch when I got an email notification from my personal account. Seeing it was 2 emails from the lab, I waited until I got to my computer. At my desk, I opened the first email and clicked the link. The results confirmed Logan is indeed my son. I opened the second email and clicked the link. I read what it said. I read it again. I couldn't say anything, just shook my head. I knew I had to leave the office before breaking down, but managed to screenshot both results and email them to myself. I went to my car and broke down crying as the realization hit me. Ella is not my daughter. I can't imagine losing an arm would hurt much more than losing a daughter. It felt like my soul had been taken. I didn't know who to call. I just sat crying, wishing I could wake from this nightmare. I downloaded the files and texted the pics to my lawyer. Within seconds, Tara called asking where I was. Work was all I could manage. She told me to stay put. Someone from the firm would be there shortly. I hung up, opened the door, and vomited uncontrollably until I was dry heaving. By the time I stopped feeling dizzy, a paralegal arrived to take me to the firm. Once Tara finished with a client, they brought me to her office. She immediately said sometimes tests come back wrong. She understood I was upset and had every right to be, but urged we test Ella and me again at a local lab to ensure accuracy. I couldn't believe what was happening. Even after catching Mia cheating, I assumed the DNA test was just a formality. I never thought she'd have another man's baby. Who did I marry? I couldn't confront Mia, even if I wanted to. I didn't have concrete proof. Yet I couldn't imagine how we'd have that conversation if the results were confirmed. Someone at the firm checked my blood pressure to make sure it wasn't dangerously high. It was elevated, and I felt close to a panic attack, yet numb and shocked simultaneously. I wondered what was next. I struggled to grasp that my little girl might not be mine. I couldn't wait 2 days to know the truth, so the go-between arranged to pick Ella up the next day for a few hours and return her to Mia's parents. We did the test in a sterile environment with trained medical staff. There was no mix-up. I am not Ella's father. It still took a day to get results, and she was back with her mom by then. I cried even harder the second time and was glad Ella wasn't there to see it. I sent the results to my lawyer, who called to check on me. She urged me to seek out family and not go through this alone. I drove to my dad's, crying the whole way. When I arrived, my mom knew something was wrong but couldn't get me to say what. Finally, I just managed to say, "Ella is not my daughter." Mom asked, "What?" but knew she'd heard correctly, and I couldn't repeat it. After about 30 seconds of silence, except for my uncontrollable weeping, she called my dad, telling him to hurry home but be careful, that I had bad news. I could tell Dad wanted a hint of what was so terrible. She just urged him to be safe and get home quickly. He arrived in about 20 minutes, and we all cried for hours. I'd console Dad, he'd console Mom, they'd console me, but we were all inconsolable. They asked about Logan, and I assured them he was mine. They expressed relief, then felt guilty for being relieved about only losing one grandchild. They asked what I would do. I said I didn't know. The only certainty was that Ella would never want for anything she needed, and most things she wanted. I didn't even care about potential child support at that moment. She'd be taken care of. As horrible as I felt for myself, I felt worse for Ella, who was totally innocent. Each time I closed my eyes, I saw Ella's face, her dimpled smile when she laughed, the way she scrunched her nose when concentrating, how she always wanted me to brush her hair at night. I'd spent 6 years loving this child as my own, and now I didn't know what to do with all that love that suddenly felt misplaced. The steering wheel bore the brunt of my anger as I pounded it repeatedly on the drive to my parents' house. Did I want custody of her? Could I get custody, even if I wanted it? I wondered if Mia knew or suspected. I suddenly wanted answers. I met with Tara after work Monday. She said she'd met with the P I hired to follow Mia. Due to the accident, Mia hadn't been out to cheat anymore, so he hadn't found recent evidence. One thing Tara had me bring was Mia's old phone from a drawer at home. The PI accessed nearly every app as if he were on her destroyed phone. He found nudes sent and received from various guys, plus tons of messages and sexting with enough admission of guilt to sway any judge. I was asked if I wanted to see the pictures or read the texts. I declined, but Tara and I needed to plan how to confront Mia about Ella. She thought it best to do it in her office if Mia would agree. She called Mia's mom's cell with me present. I heard Mia's voice for the first time since I left the hospital. Tara got right to the point, saying she needed to meet with me to explain some things. Mia said she'd been waiting to talk. Tara asked if her lawyer could be contacted. Mia said she didn't have one but would come the next afternoon. It was all I could do to get through that day without breaking down at work while pretending to be productive. I barely kept lunch down, but left at 3 and headed to the firm feeling sick. I arrived first intentionally, wanting Mia to enter, sit away from the door, and be unable to approach me. I was scrolling through pictures of our perfect family that never existed when she arrived. She needed help walking and still wore 2 casts from the accident. I didn't have to worry about her trying to hug me. I just wanted her to sit down so I could ask her to explain herself. Once we were all seated and water was offered, the meeting began. My lawyer asked Mia if she minded us recording. She agreed. As soon as we started recording, my soon-to-be ex-wife tried to apologize. I bluntly interrupted and asked how many men she'd cheated with and when it started. The PI had found enough confirmed hookups to know the guy I caught her with wasn't the first by far. She didn't know what we knew, of course. I think to reduce the severity of the incident before the accident, she planned to only admit what she knew we knew. I asked again, roughly how many men she'd slept with since our son was born. That specific time frame made her pause, but she kept acting clueless. She still thought it was a game, and I was losing my cool. Tara put her hand on my shoulder and gently pushed me back. She looked at Mia and asked if I was a good father. Mia quickly praised me, saying she couldn't ask for a better father to raise her children. I wanted to flip the table at how she said, her children. Tara then asked if the other father of her child would be a good dad too. As Mia asked what other father she meant, my lawyer slid Ella's paternity results across the table. As much as I've hated what my life became since discovering her cheating, I needed to see her reaction in person. She was clearly shocked to learn Ella isn't mine. She tried saying, "You're her father who raised her," but I shut that down. I asked who Ella's real father is. She looked down, seemingly protecting someone. When she said she didn't know for sure who Ella's father is, I completely broke down. I couldn't take it anymore. Mia was crying but asked to explain. She reminded me about her postpartum depression after Logan was born. I did try to be as supportive as possible then. I definitely spent every moment I could caring for our son, so she could have time to herself. Some days she was so depressed she couldn't get out of bed, and I took care of everyone. But I loved doing it for our family. I'd foolishly thought getting through that made our relationship stronger. Nope. I remember those dark days after Logan's birth. Mia would stare blankly at the wall for hours, barely eating, barely speaking. I'd hold the baby in one arm while cooking dinner with the other. I'd take Logan to every pediatrician appointment alone, watching other couples sharing the experience while I struggled to fill out paperwork with a fussy infant. I changed most diapers, did most feedings, while still trying to be supportive of her depression. I never complained once. We were a team, and she needed help. She didn't blame Zoe, but said when Zoe first got her to go on girls' nights out, I was relieved, if not grateful. They'd been best friends for years, but hadn't seen much of each other during the pregnancy. Mia said she got really drunk the second time they went out and let some guy feel her up while she gave him oral sex. She felt guilty for months, but began resenting not getting to be young and free. She started hooking up with guys on nights out with Zoe. Until the night before our accident, she'd never stayed. Out all night. She claimed she didn't want feelings for any guys and always used protection, never sleeping with the same man more than 3 times. She said she just wanted sex. I was dumbfounded. Finding out your wife is a lying cheater does that. It was like learning my life was a reality show I never signed up for. I wanted to yell, but was busy calculating how many men she'd possibly cheated with over years. Tara asked if she had any idea who Ella's father might be. Mia swore she always assumed she was mine. My lawyer pointed out something obviously happened and suggested maybe a condom broke. When Mia confessed that happened a few times with a few guys, I lost it. I asked who she was, because I didn't know this person telling me such horrible things so casually. I asked when she started hating me, and why. what I'd ever done to deserve this, and how she could do this to her daughter. She took it, knowing it was all true. After what she told me and how I expressed my feelings, divorce was inevitable. What was once a marriage had become scorched earth. All that remained was counting casualties. I've lost a wife and daughter. That's 2. A wife lost a husband. That's 3. A daughter lost a father, and a brother had a sister become a half-sister. Then there were grandparents and in-laws. Mia destroyed 2 entire families. Her parents won't be okay with what she did, and I'll make sure they see all the evidence the PI finds. She admitted to meeting men from dating apps with Zoe and using girls' nights to hook up. She claims she never meant to hurt me and had no idea Ella isn't mine. I actually believe her about not knowing Ella's paternity, because I didn't know either. But DNA doesn't lie. I asked why she didn't just divorce me. She straight out said because she didn't want to lose the security I gave her. She cried throughout, but my expression was pure scorn. I felt used, humiliated, emasculated, defeated. I'm pretty sure one reason she came without a lawyer is that I own everything. She doesn't have much to lose except her small 401k. My assets came from inheriting my grandfather's estate when I was 14. The woman I call mom isn't my biological mother. My mother died when I was 2 from a rare, fast-spreading cancer. Dad remarried when I was 4. I've always known mom wasn't my biological mother, and I wasn't her biological son. I learned later she couldn't have children, and raising me helped her experience motherhood. When my biological mother's dad died, his estate went to me as her heir, but I couldn't touch it until I was 21. I studied hard and went to school, but I don't have to work. Financially, Mia knows I'll win the divorce easily, and she won't get anything close to half. She has a job, though she can't work now with her injuries. Part of me wants to punish her, while another part just wants to be done with her. Mia was obviously medicated for pain. Maybe that's why she was so blunt, but her words cut deep as my imagination made them worse. I asked if she felt any shame. She claimed she did. I asked how we'd find out who Ella's real father is. Mia started with, I already know who her father is. Nonsense. I wasn't in the mood for philosophy about what makes a father. Whoever Ella's biological father is deserves to know, and she needs his family history for health reasons. The PI's evidence didn't go back to before Ella's birth. I asked if she could find any of these men, or had saved their numbers. She had the nerve to say the point of losing their numbers was never seeing them again. I said she might have wanted to keep a number to let someone know he had a child coming, or if she got an STD. I want my name off Ella's birth certificate. DNA proves she's her mother's child, not mine. I'll support her financially by choice long past her turning 18. She'll want for nothing. As for Logan in custody, I'm unsure what to do. Before the paternity test, I strongly wanted a 90-10 arrangement giving Mia 1 weekend a month and certain holidays. Now that Ella isn't mine, I don't feel right pursuing custody of her even if I could. Since Logan is her brother, half-brother, I don't want to separate them. I don't want either child to suffer. But I haven't seen Ella since the test results, and I can't let her see me break down. Her therapy will cost me plenty, but I'll pay it. Her real dad might not be able to afford it. My own therapy will pay for some psychiatrist's beach house. The enormity of what had happened kept hitting me in waves. One moment I'd feel numb, the next overwhelmed with anger, then sadness, then back to disbelief. I could barely recognize my own reflection in Tara's office window, my face gaunt, eyes hollow. The man I'd been just a week ago was gone. In his place stood someone trying to navigate a nightmare with no map and no end in sight. Driving home after the meeting, part of me wanted to end it all. It seemed the best solution for everyone but me. Both families could pretend about paternity. Mia could sleep around openly while spending my grandfather's money. The kids wouldn't face a broken marriage. But by the time I got home, I thought, F that. Tara is drawing up divorce papers and legal documents to declare I'm not Ella's father. That will take longer, but I want no legal grounds forcing me to interact with or pay for a child who isn't mine. The legal team is researching ways to find Ella's father. Many ancestry sites suggest potential relatives when results come back. That's our first plan. Even if results don't identify a specific person, they might point to a brother, cousin, or relative. Whoever the guy is, he may not be ready for a child he didn't know about. It could cause anxiety in his life, but I doubt it will compare to the terror I felt losing my daughter because she never was mine. Everything is so screwed up right now. Nothing is stable. Chaos is my daily burden. The kids return Sunday afternoon. I've never not wanted to see them before, but I know many inevitable situations await that I can't prepare for. When Ella wants to hug her daddy, I don't know how I'll react. Hug her and cry knowing she was never truly mine. Tell her I'm not who she's looking for? I can't be mean to her, but my heart is broken. There's nobody to take this out on. Even Mia. Nothing I could do short of murder would equal her betrayal. That scale will never balance. She used me and discarded me. She deserves hell for her promiscuous lying ways. I'm destroyed, and everything I loved is too. I'll win the divorce. Tara and her team will make it the most lopsided asset division in divorce history. But Mia has reduced or removed the value of so much that it feels like she's already won. Again, to hell with her. I'm left with a son she'll try to use against me and manipulate. Some people are so horrible they deserve to be put down like animals. I made the stupid decision to have a child with one. I just know now I'm not the only stupid one. The house felt empty without the children. I wandered from room to room, looking at their toys, their clothes, the drawings on the refrigerator. In Ella's room, I picked up the teddy bear I'd bought her on her first birthday. I held it against my chest, inhaling the faint scent of her strawberry shampoo that lingered on it. Even knowing what I knew, I couldn't stop loving her. The pain was in knowing that what I'd believed about our family was a lie, not in my feelings for this innocent child. Update 2. The go-between from the law firm texted me Sunday at 3 p.m., saying she had the kids securely in her car with their belongings and was on her way to my house. I doubt any text message has ever been as dreaded as that one was for me. What made it more tragic was that weeks before, I would have smiled and eagerly awaited it. Suddenly, a reunion I would have yearned for was something I dreaded. I had no plans to mention divorce, paternity, or any issues with the kids. As much as I tried to prepare, I knew I wasn't ready to bring any of that up. My goal was for things to seem normal. Like other times they stayed with grandparents while Mia and I were on vacation. That's what I wanted. I knew reality would be completely different, and I had little control over it. Karen, the intern from the firm, pulled into the driveway. I watched them arrive from the front window, walked outside, and down the steps as the car stopped. I was smiling as I approached the passenger side. As soon as I saw Ella in her car seat beaming at me, I started crying. I was still smiling. You couldn't have knocked that smile off with a baseball bat. I just hoped maintaining it might convince the kids and myself everything was okay. As soon as I got Ella out of her car seat, Logan was by my side. I grabbed them both and just hugged them, telling them I missed them. That was all I could manage to say. I kept crying. People can hate me all they want. God knows I've gotten hate-filled messages privately and publicly, but it all felt different. It wasn't the same as when I hugged my children goodbye. Maybe part of the loss I felt was over our destroyed family unit. My heart was broken. Seeing them and knowing Ella isn't mine broke it again. That's my life now. Every day brings new heartbreak. I learn more about Mia's cheating. I discover pain I can't shield the kids from. I'm reminded of past bonds founded on lies. I keep backing away from the chaos that started when I caught Mia cheating, but I keep getting hit with stray boulders of betrayal, learning how much I was deceived. Karen helped get the kids inside. I carried their belongings like a pack mule while she closed the car doors and trunk. When I set their bags down, I turned to see Ella looking up at me. She didn't say anything, just looked up like she knew I needed the hug. I swatted down. She walked into my arms and wrapped her little arms around me as tightly as she could. That child broke me. I wanted to be strong, but no kid should hear a parent cry like that. Everyone keeps saying to do what damages them least. That's logical, but what if everything damages them? What if there's no way to prevent the damage? Letting her see a source of strength broken has to harm her. If I abandon her, it destroys her. Yet by staying in her life, I damage her too. A 6-year-old shouldn't console a grown man, especially for something that isn't her fault. I was seething with rage toward Mia, but this little girl she lied about being mine showed me love the only way she knew how, by hugging me. The truth hit me then. She and I are both victims. As the adult, I should handle it better. She doesn't even know she's been victimized yet. Like survivors of a plane crash, we both made it, but with soul scars. As survivors, we need to stick together. We're going through the same thing from different perspectives. I was feeling the loss while sparing her much pain by taking it myself. I've been seeing this as Mia taking my daughter from me, but it's equally true that Mia took her father from her. Mia is the villain here. I'm done feeling guilty for my feelings. There's no paternity handbook. Reddit knows how to respond to cheating and gives great advice through divorce. But the proper way to react when you learn the daughter you raised was never yours? Get out of here with that. Nobody can tell me how I should feel or react. The only analogy is children switched at birth, where a couple faces it together. They were both deceived. They both learned their child isn't biologically theirs. Unless you've experienced that or what I'm going through, you can't understand how it feels. After about 30 minutes, I pulled myself together. Karen left after hugs from all three of us. I gave her a small envelope with $500, saying it was for gas. We both knew her electric car didn't need gas money. I carried Ella around while Logan showed me things he'd made with his grandfather. Ella kept her arms around my neck, making sure I knew she'd helped stain the wood. I played my standard, I don't believe you game. Logan joined in. That turned into a tickle session. First for Ella, then Logan. I can't describe how wonderful yet heartbreaking it was to hear Ella's squeals and laughter. Seeing Logan happy was a joy for my broken soul. Knowing the future held little of what we were enjoying. They teamed up to wrestle me. I liked seeing them work together, even against me. Father or not, by the time Ella's old enough to date, she'll know how to say no firmly. I put on music. Since she was a baby, Ella has loved music. I've danced with her from the first week she was born until the previous month. I probably look ridiculous, but I don't care. I have fun, and she loves being silly with me. I ordered takeout for dinner. We aren't Asian, but we eat like it. Logan can devour lo mein like a champ for a 10-year-old, and Ella loves crab rangoon. I didn't eat much. My appetite has solved any weight issues I had. I just enjoyed having dinner with them again. They both had school the next day, so I got them bathed, into PJs, and ready for bed. Logan likes reading before sleep. I hugged him, told him I loved him, and said I'd see him in the morning. I tucked Ella in and read her a storybook, pointing out details in the illustrations. She was nearly asleep when I felt tears welling up. I kissed her head and told her, I love you, for the first time since finding out. Call me the biggest jerk on the planet. I don't care. Saying it was like allowing myself to admit it. Everything in my life has been a struggle to determine what's real. My love for Ella is real. I love her. I do feel different, right or wrong, but I love her. I went from not wanting to take anything from her to wanting to continue giving. It's a huge difference. I was waiting for Ella to say she loves me, though I knew she did without hearing it. Instead, she said, Mommy loves you. I knew what she said and made a point not to snap at her, asking sweetly, Ella, why did you tell me that? She said Mommy told her to. I gently asked if Mommy just said that or told Ella to tell me. My soon-to-be ex-wife had explained to the kids why I hadn't visited, wouldn't come over, and why she wouldn't return home with them. She actually told them her parents' house was her new home, which I appreciated, but I needed to understand the I love you message. I asked more questions, then Logan came in. He revealed their mom told them she wouldn't be coming home because I didn't love her anymore. What was I supposed to say? Yep, it's all my fault? No way. I called our regular babysitter, asking if she could watch the kids for a few hours. Since they were already in bed and she could study while getting paid, she agreed. I drove straight to my in-laws' house without calling first. I knocked and asked to see Mia. Her mom led me to her childhood room where she was recovering. I told her mother Mia and I needed to talk privately. She sensed my anger and quickly left. Once the door closed, I demanded to know why she was blaming our split on me not loving her anymore. She said it was true. I told her perhaps, but the reason I couldn't love her was because she's a lying, deceitful, worthless, promiscuous whore trying to deflect blame. She said she'd already tried to apologize, but I wouldn't listen. I exploded, asking what good an apology would do. It wouldn't undo or prevent damage. Besides, I didn't believe she was truly sorry. I asked how she could manipulate two innocent children to make me look like the bad guy if she felt guilty. I asked when I became the villain who destroyed our marriage. Without hesitation, she said, when I didn't give her a second chance. I asked if she was mixing pain meds with alcohol, because that was the only logical way she could think a lying cheater deserves mercy, dignity, or respect. I don't even recognize my wife anymore. It's like she's possessed by a completely different person. I asked if she felt justified destroying everything for sex. She said it wasn't just sex. I reminded her she claimed to want no emotional involvement. She said much of it, especially at first, was about validation. She liked being pursued. She got angry when I asked how she could consider herself chaste. But actions affect how others perceive you forever. My hands shook as I stood over her bed. Her room remained exactly as it had been in high school. Trophies from cheerleading competitions, photos of us at prom, posters of bands we'd seen together. The contrast between the innocent girl I thought I'd married and the stranger before me couldn't have been more stark. The overhead light cast harsh shadows across her face, highlighting how much pain medication had dulled her eyes. She looked small and broken in her childhood bed, but I felt no sympathy. Physical wounds heal. What she'd done to our family never would. Mia and I talked for hours. She said during her depression after Logan's birth, I'd been the best supportive husband she could have asked for. So I had to ask why she betrayed me so cruelly. She said despite the happy event in our lives, part of her was so anxious she wanted to die. She felt love for me and Logan, but somehow felt depressed and dead inside. She stayed out of work 6 extra months due to her issues. I got her the best mental health care money could buy. She admits that. She said even that made her feel guilty, like she was letting me down while I carried us. She felt overwhelmed even though she knew she wasn't bearing any burden. She started doubting if she should have become a mother despite always wanting to be one. She withdrew from friends in person and online. She told me daily she loved me and apologized. I always said she had nothing to apologize for. I just wanted her to get better. Maybe she was apologizing for what she was about to do. When Zoe showed up unannounced that first day, I was glad to see her. I knew Zoe was bold enough not to be pushed away, but kind enough to to get Mia to open up. It still took months before anything like a night out happened. Just getting Mia to Starbucks was a victory then. I'm sure guys think I'm the biggest fool for letting my wife go to bars with a single friend. 99% of the time, they'd be 100% right, and I should have stopped it much sooner. But at that point in our lives, after all the sadness and isolation, seeing her happy after going out even once seemed worth it. She tried explaining she'd suddenly become a wife and mother within 2 years. Seeing men desire her, even for sex, boosted her ego. She claimed the first incident wouldn't have happened if she hadn't been drunk, but it happened willingly. Once she cheated, she knew I'd never touch her again if I found out. She knew she'd lose everything since she came into the marriage with nothing. I asked if she ever thought I'd discover her cheating or how I'd react. She said she knew it would destroy me and claimed she felt horrible. I asked the obvious question, why continue cheating? She said as soon as she sobered up after cheating, she felt guilt, shame, and regret. I remembered her being really sad for a week after going out the first time. Zoe came over, and they talked for hours alone. After that, for months, I had the old Mia back. She revealed she told Zoe that day she felt unworthy of me because of what she did. She knew if I found out, we'd be done, and I'd fight for Logan. She decided to take it to the grave and try to be the best wife possible to make it up to me. Red flag? Yeah, now. Think I'm a fool if you want. But we had a baby to care for, and I was doing 95% of it. Overnight, I got my wife back. At the time, I'd have been crazy to see that as a warning. It was a miracle then. Within 2 weeks, I was working part-time, then full-time once Mia was fine as a stay-at-home mom. Looking back, the time just before and after Logan turned 1 contained some of our happiest moments, at least for me. Learning it was all because she was making up for oral sex with a stranger forever tainted those memories. I asked why she cheated again if I wasn't enough. I thought we had a great sex life except during her depression. She always seemed to enjoy sex with me. She said the longer she kept the secret, the worse she felt about herself. Unlike after Logan's birth, she couldn't show me how she felt. She knew I'd want to comfort her and ask why she was sad, but she couldn't tell me. She reminded me of when I went to a reunion of my bio-mom's family out of state. I took Logan to introduce him to her family. Mia canceled last minute, claiming illness. I couldn't have stopped her from cheating then. That was already done, but I might have prevented her deceiving me for 6 years about a child I cherished that was never mine. I wasn't blaming myself. She should have been on that plane. Actually, she should have already confessed to let me move on with my life. Somehow multiple mistakes, lies, and disregard for consequences became my burden. That's something you do to an enemy, not someone you claim to have loved. She told me she was severely depressed that weekend while I was away. She knew she was unworthy even if I didn't. She was punishing herself, even if I didn't know she deserved it. She rationalized that she knew if I knew the truth, I'd see her as disgusting. I never stopped showing my love or telling her how much I loved her, but she said eventually she realized if I knew the truth, I wouldn't love her. My attention didn't matter because she knew she was unworthy, and I'd realize it too if I knew about her sordid encounters. She said she called Zoe to cry on her shoulder, who convinced her to go out for drinks. According to Mia, she spent the first part of the night crying and asking what to do. The bartender bought her shots to cheer her up. She didn't have to say Zoe encouraged her to flirt. She found herself kissing a guy in the back alley and stopped herself. She went back inside feeling even worse because she cheated again. More alcohol followed. Zoe needed help getting Mia inside, so she asked the guy Mia had just kissed. Zoe left them alone, and clothes came off. I asked if she ever thought of Logan or me while betraying us both. She got angry and said she never betrayed her son. I told her she betrayed not just me and Logan, but Ella, our parents, everyone who watched our vows, and God above. She betrayed our family's sanctity, but I stopped, shaking my head, saying despite what she'd done to that point, she should have let me go. I would have cared for Logan. She could have slept around with the entire state after we divorced. I'd have helped advertise, but she didn't. She kept lying and cheating. So much disgusted me, like how she had a strategy after the first few guys. She didn't want them getting attached since she wasn't leaving unless forced. She wasn't seeking emotional connection. She called it fishing, getting a number, breaking the ice, giving a nibble, pulling away, making him pursue on her schedule. She said she already knew I thought she was beautiful, so getting second opinions didn't seem wrong then. I just shook my head. Anyway, the bartender isn't Ella's father. He was months too early, and she claims they hooked up just once. I asked if she remembered names of specific guys she was talking to. Maybe a couple first names, but I wouldn't know where to find them. Was enough to end the conversation for the night. I wanted more answers, but details weren't coming out in one night, and that wasn't why I came. She was seated in a chair with her cast propped on pillows. I got inches from her face and told her she was a pitiful excuse for a human who I believe has no soul. I said her actions have caused unimaginable pain and will continue to do so. I looked her straight in the eyes and said I wouldn't let her hurt our children anymore. I told her plainly that I was the one deceived for 6 years. If anyone deserved some slack for focusing on their needs, it was me. I warned her that petty games and manipulation would only make me loathe her more. We weren't getting back together, ever. I was disgusted by her touch. Loyalty wasn't in her vocabulary. But father or not, I would be loyal to Ella. I would protect her, even from her mother's lies and manipulations if necessary. I told her Tara has friends who'd love a new car for getting Mia declared an unfit mother. It was a threat, and I meant every word. I said if she had things to say, she should say them to my face. Using Logan or Ella to relay messages wouldn't happen again. Ella should know little to nothing about our divorce or paternity for now. When the time came to tell her, I would break that news. I would explain how her mother victimized us both, but we survived together. There was no way I'd let the person who destroyed so much for us downplay it or blame me. That terrible news wasn't coming soon, unless absolutely necessary, and I'd decide when that was. I pointed out she didn't have a lawyer and told her the kids would stay with me for at least the next 2 weeks. She needed time to reflect on her betrayal and cruel manipulation that would only hurt Ella. I'd let her know when she'd earned the right to be a mother again. There wasn't much she could do. I had the kids. She had 2 broken limbs. Let her experience loneliness. I've made mistakes in my life. Driving home, I kept wishing I could have known how things would turn out. This is my life's greatest struggle, and I hope it's the biggest I ever face. So much has been destroyed. The sham marriage needs to be demolished completely, but there's no reason to hurt a little girl who doesn't know about the battle between her mother and daddy. I want it to stay that way. These children can't see us together. When Mia and I are in the same room, the atmosphere is toxic. I won't fight with her in front of them, but I will call out any manipulation. Sorry this is long, but every decision has 1,000 consequences. The man up, DNA doesn't matter crowd needs to understand that hurting Ella is the last thing I want. I plan to be in her corner and fight for her. I don't know how this will end, but that little girl and I were betrayed by the same person, someone I won't let damage her as she damaged me. No one is coming near my daughter until I allow it. That won't be Mia's decision. If I check his background and meet him, I'll make that call when the time comes. Until then, Logan, Ella, and I are weathering a storm. I've shielded them from what's coming and will protect them from as much fallout as possible. But we're all going to bleed before this is over. This carnage could have been prevented, but once the bomb explodes, the damage can't be avoided. Sorry for venting. This was meant as an update only, but it's sometimes too much. I'm in therapy twice weekly. Not sure it's helping, but it's early, so I'll give it more sessions. I need to focus on healing and making this life transition as seamless as possible for the kids. Thanks for the direction and encouragement. Many have helped tremendously. I promise to help others here someday, just not today. My therapist's office is painted a soothing blue-gray with comfortable furniture and dim lighting. She's middle-aged with silver-streaked dark hair and glasses that slip down her nose when she's listening intently. She doesn't take notes while I talk, maintaining eye contact instead, which I appreciate. Sometimes she hands me a box of tissues before I even realize I need them. I've started looking forward to those sessions, even when they're painful. Okay, I've calmed down after food, a shower, and many hours of sleep. I'm closer to sober and can see things more clearly. I'm not sure who God is, but I can say this: F God, because that's about all I have left given what I know. I need to share information past the Reddit rules, because this site is run by scared kids. The children are with extended family Mia once called evil racist trash, but they turned out mostly not to be. They all pity me, which is pathetic and unwanted. Mia is manipulative and could make anyone give up. She had them believing the kids hate me, which has worked 900% of the time on everyone around those kids, so they think I'm abusive. They got scared something happened to the kids and Mia blurted, "I told them I wasn't their bio dad." They were confused when I didn't just agree. That hurts the kids and makes them hate me more. Fuck's the law. I'm gathering as much info as I can to get her out of our lives. To think the people meant to help can hurt more than strangers. Here are facts as everything falls apart. Her affair was before, not after. So Ella isn't related to the man she's with. The other girl has been around for half the child's life. Mia doesn't want me knowing everything about those two. It doesn't seem as significant now that she's gone. It's all lies. Her real face won't let people see what happens when everything falls apart. She needs someone and can't bear independence. She acted out to get more from these guys. Detectives told them they have all the people involved, so the law can handle it. This isn't her fault. My plans for the kids won't work anymore in this new evil reality. These are huge decisions Reddit can't help with. I don't know if some new man can just walk by these kids without caring as he drives away. They don't deserve this and can't just accept someone new. I don't know if such a person exists. It has to work, but nothing will help them when this happens, so they'll always hurt. For now, I know what's best. Many things will help them eventually. When this war ends, I'll find what helps. I wanted to believe her mom didn't know, but that's another lie. We must get better. Thanks for the help, but I doubt I'll return. This is as transparent as I'll get. Just got off the phone with detectives, or as Ella calls them, bad guys. Mia is going to prison for child endangerment, kidnapping, theft, fraud, and extortion. I'll explain that next time, but first I need to tell you about Ella. Karen is in the middle of a birthday bar crawl tonight. We're out and very drunk. More to follow. Mia disgusts me that much, and I'll view her that way forever. No emotional bond with someone else would make me think so horribly of her. Unworthy in an instant that became a 6-year time bomb. The motion to adopt Ella was the second or third biggest thing Mia faced when I filed papers. At noon, a sheriff's deputy served her divorce papers at her parents' house. 10 minutes later, another deputy served her papers for my civil suit. Calls and texts to my lawyer went unanswered. Tara urged her to get legal counsel. That wasn't what she wanted to hear. She reportedly screamed at several staff members that day. Tara eventually told her the divorce would proceed regardless, and further harassment would be severely dealt with. I wish Mia had kept pushing. Orange was never her color, but what she did should be criminal. Over a week later, her lawyer called Tara for their first discussion. He asked if we were serious about the civil suit to recover expenses from raising a child who isn't mine. Tara assured him we'd try to recover every cent from paternity fraud, adding that it wasn't about money. Even if I win, I probably won't see much of any award. But if I win, money will come from every paycheck until paid in full, a costly reminder of what she did. Even if I lose, she must pay a lawyer she can't afford. He acknowledged most assets, including our home, were mine before marriage. But he argued we couldn't expect custody of both kids, child support from her, and no spousal support after her serious accident. Tara told him his client was unfaithful long before the accident and picked a bad time to get caught. She informed him our goal was making this as painful as possible for Mia. Her car was the only valuable item in her name, and she could keep it. Mia could keep her retirement savings because my portfolio dwarfed hers. She wouldn't have that 401k without my urging her to maximize contributions each pay period. She never paid utilities. Buying her car and insurance was her only expense. The rest was hers. Now she must live on it. She's already feeling financial pressure, and it will worsen. If I win the civil suit, Starbucks sales will plummet, but it's necessary. I don't think she expected I'd go this far. Regarding cars, I drove hers for months after mine was wrecked. Being her only valuable possession, adding mileage was satisfying if petty. But I bought a new SUV and had a friend follow me in it as I returned Mia's car to her parents. I left the key in their mailbox, not knowing when she could drive again. Given her past, I figured she'd be seeking new partners as soon as possible. I hoped living with her parents made her feel young and irresponsible. Having random men at her parents' house would be tacky, though. She'd eventually need somewhere to offer herself to strangers, like a 2020 Acura. I considered donating her car to a community college criminal justice department. Those students would become experts in using luminol. As warped as it sounds, the most satisfying thing about returning her car was the spare tire. It doesn't have one, which was a major concern I raised when she bought it. I remember her sweetly saying she had me to call if she got a flat. I nearly left a note under the trunk mat saying, "Bet you wish you had a spare now," but she'll get the message eventually. A few days after the lawyers spoke, they met in person to discuss Ella. Mia's side wanted a meeting about Ella's situation. Even reluctantly, I agreed to prevent obstacles to adopting Ella. We met at Tara's firm. I was seated in the conference room when Tara entered with opposing counsel and Mia. I never truly understood rode hard and put away wet until that moment. She looked terrible. For minutes, I thought my eyes were deceiving me through hatred. It wasn't until Tara gave me a side glance at Mia's appearance that I realized I wasn't imagining it. She'd lost weight until her face was slightly concave. She'd never been overweight and lost baby weight easily both times. She looked like she was headed for a Florida mugshot. She'd cut her hair, not quite a Karen cut, but close, and it looked unwashed since the accident. Nothing she wore would have looked good, but I made sure she got all her clothes back. Her ensemble wasn't my fault. The lawyers discussed preliminaries. I felt Mia watching me, but avoided looking her way. I wanted to convey hatred when I finally glanced at her. I wondered where the beautiful woman I knew had gone. Bullet dodged. From beautiful to disheveled in 6 months. Now I'm just somebody she used to know. Thankfully, we started discussing Ella, distracting me from Mia's appearance. They asked if we tried finding Ella's biological father. I said nothing about that would happen until divorce and custody were finalized. I asked if she remembered names that might lead to Ella's real father. I felt trashy saying it, and she didn't like hearing it. But truth is truth. She said no names from that time came to mind. I asked if she planned to block me from legally adopting Ella. She insisted she wished I'd never removed my name and certainly wouldn't prevent me from reinstating it. That was all I needed. Before I could leave, Mia asked, "Could you have forgiven me after my first mistake if I had confessed and sworn never to stray again?" She got me. It's a question she'd asked herself repeatedly since first cheating. She knew the answer, and so did I. Just asking was making a statement. She knew giving herself to someone else would make me remove her from my life instantly and permanently. We discussed how we'd both handle being cheated on. I told her if I discovered she cheated, I wouldn't listen to another word. The time to talk is before infidelity. Everything after is excuses. After lengthy silence, I reluctantly said she already knew I wouldn't have given her another chance. Then I asked if she'd care for a random hookups baby I brought home 6 years later. It got ugly then. She said I was doing everything to hurt her. I didn't deny it. She said I wasn't her parent and couldn't punish her for being bad, referring to the civil suit. I clarified the divorce was punishment. The civil suit was payback I deserved. She claimed I'd destroy the kids' lives to destroy her. I told her she looked like she'd been using drugs, and her accusation proved it. She cried and said she loves me. I rolled my eyes. Her tears generate no sympathy now. They make me want to be crueler. I promised the kids would always be well-fed and well-dressed, but made clear I didn't care if she starved or wore rags. Once, I would have done anything to make her happy. I asked if my everything wasn't enough for her faithfulness. What more could I have done? She said she betrayed herself. I yelled that she betrayed Ella. She betrayed everyone in her life. The lawyers calmed things down, and Tara presented a temporary visitation agreement. Knowing which weeks she'd have the kids would help her schedule medical appointments. I warned that while it wasn't my business what she did, she shouldn't have strange men around the kids. She said she hadn't been with anyone. She didn't appreciate me pointing out she'd said that before, but promised if that time came, she'd shield the kids. I asked if anyone besides Zoe knew about her infidelity. She said she admitted only kissing to her sister after the first incident. Her sister berated her for 5 straight minutes. Mia knew she could never tell her sister how far she actually went. No one but Zoe knew about all the hookups. She asked if we could get counseling to work things out. I asked why I'd want a marriage with a dead bedroom. She pointed out we never had bedroom problems. I explained it was certainly dead now because I'd never touch her again with a partner count higher than COVID. Mia asked if I hate her. I'm not sure if that needed a yes or no, but with every fiber of my being had to suffice. So that's where we stand, waiting for the divorce to reach a judge. The civil case can't start until after the divorce trial. The kids are doing well considering. They see both sets of grandparents more often. If there's any positive in this mess, it's that. Yes, I know I must let go of the hate. I'm seeing a therapist and took time to find one I like. Even she acknowledges I have legitimate reasons to hate Mia. I'm not seeking validation, but knowing my hate isn't irrational helps. I know it's not good for me. My therapist is helping me vent and let go. I'm not good at meditation, but it's new to me. My first therapist was okay for about 4 sessions. The first session is always introductions, regardless of what you share on forums. She seemed positive initially, sympathetic, yet encouraging. She assured me I was doing better than most at being a good dad, which was nice to hear. But when we discussed past issues before the cheating, her tone changed. Not a direct quote, but she suggested sometimes we do things that hurt our partner, but they say nothing. If those issues fester for weeks, months, or years, it's like a powder keg we helped create. No, she didn't have a European accent, but I have enough pride and sense to know that despite my flaws and mistakes, nothing justified what Mia did. Nothing I ever did made even 1% of her actions righteous. So I found a new therapist. I tried sessions with a male counselor who understood the feelings of emasculation and mental images. He grasped how overwhelming it all is. I just wasn't comfortable with him. Thank goodness I'm mostly done crying. But for emotional topics, I don't want to cry in front of a man. Men are for drinking, sports, and fighting. We don't discuss why Gary's wife is emotionally unavailable or doesn't understand his love language. This guy doesn't anyway. Part of me wanted to give him more chance, but I didn't see us developing rapport. If that makes me sexist, so be it. I feel more comfortable confiding in women. That's my preference. And I finally found a good therapist. She was the only daughter with 3 brothers, giving her some understanding of men. Her specialty is infidelity and grief counseling. When I told her what brought me there, she used half a box of tissues. She said she's amazed I'm doing as well as I am. I'm still not sure if that was encouragement or shock that I'm not institutionalized. I'll call my therapist Megan for this post. She's helped tremendously just by listening. She says I'm hard to read, and my appearance doesn't match my friendly personality. She noted I use humor to diffuse tension and disarm people. I told her it ruins the fun if she calls out my tactics beforehand. But she's figuring me out and says I need to figure myself out now. She emphasized she's here to help, but rebuilding my life requires my effort. I can't pay someone else to do the work. I must assess my damage, repair what I can, and amputate what I can't. It will hurt more than I've already hurt, but I must make peace with what I've lost, because it's not coming back. The kids see their own therapist, 40 minutes with each, then 40 minutes with all 3 of us twice weekly. They're doing great. The therapy helps them accept the inevitable. I worried about family therapy given my feelings toward their mom. I've stayed silent when they express missing her or wishing we were together. I considered showing on a doll where Mia hurt me, but dolls don't have souls. Sometimes I don't feel like I have one either. I've tried being social and leaning on friends, but with what lies ahead, small talk seems trivial. I know friends tire of my venting. I would too. I try not to rant, but the betrayal eats at me. It's always in my mind. When we go out, they point out women. Sure, they're pretty, but I have zero interest in getting to know them. Unlike my wife, hygiene issues alone would prevent any hookup. Rest assured, none of these women left feeling rejected. The disinterest was mutual. But this hasn't just changed how I view women. It's changed how I view people. I second guess everyone's identity and sincerity. Before all this, Mia was someone I admired. It makes me question others I've admired, male and female. She hasn't made me hate women. She's made me distrust humanity. Despite any shame she feels, I know she'll easily resume intimacy with the next guy. She'll start eating better, gain weight, and men will pursue her. She'll move on sexually without effort. I can't and won't do that. I already feel filthy knowing all the bodily fluids from other men she exposed me to. I feel defiled. Because I've been with her, I feel contaminated. She didn't just kill my desire for her. She killed my desire for sex entirely. Mia was it for me. She was beautiful. I didn't need to look at other women. I thought what we had was special. Beauty doesn't register with me anymore. My mind knows better, but my subconscious thinks all women are like Mia and Zoe. That's my struggle. Fair or not. Someone sent me an encouraging message saying they almost envied my position as a soon-to-be soon-to-be single, financially secure man. They said I'd have no trouble meeting women and would be seen as high value. I thanked them for support without explaining that what they envied would cause me anxiety. People hook up constantly everywhere. That's between them and their partners. Not my thing, but fine for them. I wouldn't want a stranger, even an attractive one, touching me. I'm a personal space person. I can't imagine meeting someone at a bar or on an app and getting physical after minimal interaction. The fact that humans often agree to go somewhere, undress, and have sex with someone they barely know amazes me. In a world with dating apps, my stance is unusual. I'd be thinking about how recently they'd done the same with someone else. Most people accept hookup culture. Mia's number of partners wouldn't be unusual for many single women today. Most men would behave similarly if they could. I couldn't and wouldn't. Plus, I never wanted to be with someone who had. Part of me feels Mia wasn't honest about her infidelity just to spite me, knowing my stance. When I said she was making a statement, that's what it felt like. If I wouldn't consider a second chance, she'd do exactly what would hurt and disgust me most, testing me, then getting revenge without me knowing. Once our bond broke, we could never have that again with each other or anyone else. It was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, because we only get one life. The continued cheating destroyed me. If she just admitted what she did and we divorced, I might have eventually given someone else a chance. It's like she wanted to destroy me, so I'd never want anyone else since she couldn't have me. Diabolical. And regardless of showers and condoms, some foreign DNA reached me. Disgusting. I hope her parts rot. When Mia and I had only been with each other, every act was pure and beautiful. Her first infidelity destroyed all that had been or could be in an instant. Anyone outside a relationship engaging physically with either partner defiles it forever in a split second. It's like our relationship was a glass of milk. The moment her lips touched another man's, it was like adding one drop of ink to the milk. It's just one drop. Still mostly milk. Ignore the discoloration, it probably tastes the same, right? But instead of telling me about the ink, she let me drink it. Not only that, she kept adding more ink. Some people are like milk with one drop of ink. Mia is now ink with one drop of milk. Defiled and worthless as anything but a prostitute. The night she was conceived, I wish someone had injured her father so he couldn't reproduce. The world would be better. Things most people find exciting about new relationships cause me massive anxiety. I remember getting butterflies with Mia. The feeling made me nauseous. I had to get used to someone as pretty as her, whom I liked entering my personal space. It's not a self-esteem issue. We were both outgoing together but naturally introverted. Learning to kiss, feeling that closeness for the first time. I had to ease into it. Not all teens are hormonal. We weren't. We progressed physically slowly as we learned and grew comfortable. I was taught that was right. That's what I wanted, and what she swore she wanted too. The thought of intimacy with someone new makes me cringe. But now, thoughts of Mia are repulsive. It's too much. I'm ashamed to be human. My life wasn't supposed to go this way. We had beautiful moments awaiting us as a family, but memories are destroyed, and those moments will never exist. I loved Ella, but I had to let her go because our relationship was forced on us from the start, against our will. By adopting her, I'm saying, given the chance, I choose her as my daughter again. When the judge asks if she wants me to adopt her, it will be her returning that love. Full circle. Things made right, or as right as possible. I can never be her biological father. That title belongs to someone walking around unaware he has a 6-year-old daughter. But I'm the only dad she'll ever know, protector and provider, long after any legal obligation. I've done what I had to for my sanity, even when others questioned my actions or called me cruel. I've done what I thought necessary to allow Mia's two biggest victims to claim what was never truly theirs. I've made mistakes in handling this. I won't know they were mistakes until much later, but I've done my best. I'll update when more is finalized. Sorry for the gaps between updates and the length. I'll try to improve both as the kids and I move forward. Thanks to all. Peace and gratitude. I still have the adoption paperwork on my desk at home. Sometimes I catch myself staring at it, pen in hand, hesitating. Not because I don't want to sign, but because it makes everything so real. Ella drew me a picture yesterday of our family. Just her, Logan, and me, standing in front of our house with a big sun smiling down on us. She didn't include Mia. I'm not sure if that's good or bad, but I framed it anyway and hung it in the kitchen where we can all see it. Update 4. Trying to fulfill my promise of more frequent, shorter updates. Sorry if previous posts caused eye strain or headaches. Never my intention. Someone asked about Zoe and if I've had contact with her. I haven't seen or communicated with her since that morning. I don't know how prominent she is in Mia's life now, but assume they're still in touch. The kids haven't mentioned Zoe at all. What they tell me is all I know, which isn't much. However, a few weeks after everything blew up, I confided in an old friend. I chose this friend because his wife is a notorious gossip. She's a good friend too, so I didn't feel guilty using her trait to my advantage. Zoe owns a salon with 9 employees besides herself when fully staffed. As word spread through our social circle, 2 stylists left her salon. I don't know if they left for better opportunities or to protest her role in destroying my marriage, but I can hope. When everything is finalized, I'll freely share her part in this. If that causes people to avoid her salon, great, but I'll have to wait to see if my actions bring her any misery. I ran into Mia's sister at the grocery store. She hugged me and apologized for her sister's behavior. Many would advise avoiding contact with enemy camp, but I've always liked Heather and her husband, Dan. I invited them and their children to enjoy my pool. We had a cookout, and Dan watched the kids in the grill while Heather and I talked privately. We made sure the kids couldn't overhear us. Thankfully, they were distracted by swimming and food. To summarize, Mia's family knew she cheated with multiple men, but she misled them about numbers. Heather and her parents were told Mia had a few brief affairs after Logan's birth until she got caught. When Heather used the term a couple, I asked how many she meant. She said 2 or 3. I retrieved the folder containing just text exchanges between Mia and men she'd been with. As Heather looked through the pages, I explained we verified 47 different men Mia had sexual encounters with since Logan's birth. I clarified these 47 were just the beginning, since we knew. She arranged one-night stands through various phone apps. Heather was speechless about Mia's verified count. She wanted to immediately call her parents and confront her sister. Mia's dishonesty about her partners was enough to process. Then I realized nobody in Mia's family knew I wasn't Ella's father. I'm not sure who was more furious about that, Heather or me. Dan had to stop grilling to comfort his crying wife. She hugged me repeatedly, saying how sorry she was. Dan was stunned. He patted my back after checking on Heather and said we'd go for drinks later that week. My soon-to-be ex-wife may be garbage, but her family seems wonderful. I'll remain cautious about trust, though. I explained what happened that morning and how I discovered the paternity results. She was shocked. When she said she wished I'd punched Zoe in the nose, I had to ask her opinion of Zoe. Heather said she never liked her, even as kids. Heather is 4 years older than Mia, Zoe, and me. She was a senior when we were freshmen. Heather said she caught Zoe stealing makeup from her room multiple times without apology. She despised Zoe for being manipulative and causing drama. She said she tried to be a role model for Zoe, especially after Zoe's parents divorced, but Zoe was always ungrateful and wouldn't listen. I asked if she knew Mia initially wanted Zoe as her maid of honor. She didn't directly answer, but her profanity indicated she wasn't aware. I shared what Mia told me in her letter and during our attorney meeting. She was as shocked by Mia's reasoning as anyone. She said their parents hadn't raised them that way. She said Mia had declared she never wanted anyone but me long before high school. I'm not sure if that means Mia deceived herself from youth or her feelings changed. I just know people can't truly love someone while freely giving themselves to others. Either the love was never real or it died long before I knew. Mia claims her heart always belonged to me. I now know that's complete nonsense, and I wonder if she's capable of love at all. Not that it matters now. If her heart truly belonged to me, I'd sell it for transplant to the highest bidder, even knowing it's defective. After lunch, the kids continued playing while I talked more with Dan and Heather. She filled me in while I got ice cream for the kids. When I returned, I saw tears in Dan's eyes before he gave me a brotherly hug. He asked about the guy I caught Mia with and how much damage I did. All I could say was, when I left, he was unconscious with a sagging left eyelid. No police ever contacted me, so I knew his friend never reported it. I knew his orbital fracture would need surgery, but I never got a bill. Dan said I should have killed him. I said if Mia and Zoe hadn't jumped on my back, I probably would have, but I'm glad I didn't. Dan asked if anyone had any idea who Ella's real father is. I explained Mia had been with too many men to know, but the search would intensify once all divorce and civil proceedings concluded. They were glad Mia would lose badly in the divorce, and that therapy was helping all three of us. When I mentioned looking forward to Mia working again so she could pay child support and civil penalties, they laughed. Dan said if paternity fraud were a crime, Mia would get the death penalty. I said Mia might as well have committed maternity fraud because a woman who could do what she did wasn't a mother at all. About an hour after they left, my phone exploded with calls and texts. Caller ID showed Mia's parents reaching out, along with unknown numbers. Then Heather called, and I answered. I could hear her, but there was screaming and yelling in the background. She stepped outside to tell me she'd informed her parents of the full truth. Her dad was throwing Mia's belongings into her car. Her mom cried and told Mia what a disappointment she was, and how ashamed they were to have raised such a slut. Call me old-fashioned, but when your mother calls you a slut, you've definitely gone too far. I could hear Mia crying and pleading that she had nowhere to go. Instead of celebrating her comeuppance, I thought of the kids. I don't mind them staying at their grandparents', but anywhere else Mia might go, I wouldn't allow them to stay with her. If she went to Zoe's, I wouldn't let them near that home-wrecking stylist. Even if she somehow got a hotel room with her limited funds, I didn't trust her not to have random men over. I was pleased her family knew some truth, but this would create visitation issues. If she didn't find a stable, safe place, the court wouldn't allow unsupervised visitation. Seeing her kids under supervision for an hour or two every other weekend would hurt, but it was a situation she created with lies and promiscuity. Whether she ended up in a shelter or the gutter, I didn't care. Heather and I were still talking when I heard Mia come outside asking if it was me on the phone. Heather asked what I wanted her to tell Mia. I probably shouldn't have said the truth, because Mia grabbed Heather's phone and started pleading with me. She asked why I was determined to destroy her life. I simply replied, because you destroyed mine. She insisted I could have my life back if I'd just forgive her. I told her that life was over and never existed due to her lies. Again, she claimed she loved me. I told her, not elegantly, that the only thing she loved were herself and male anatomy. She insisted none of those men meant anything to her. I said they clearly meant more than me, family security, or she wouldn't have risked everything repeatedly. She asked why I'd ratted her out to her sister and parents. I asked why she hadn't been honest with them about everything, especially about Ella's paternity. She cursed at me, saying I am her father. I cursed back, saying I'm Ella's dad and always will be, but she should have told her family the truth. She said her parents would disown and evict her. I said I'd heard, was glad, and would make things worse if possible. She said she loves me, and asked how I could be so cruel to someone who loves me. I told her she should have asked herself that question 6 years ago. I said I knew she felt regret only because she was losing everything and people were learning the truth. I explained her actions made her deserving of being shunned and criticized. What she was experiencing from her family was exactly what she deserved. 3 days later, Tara called saying Mia's attorney wanted another meeting. We scheduled it for Friday at Tara's office. I didn't want to see or speak to Mia, but knew her homelessness would affect custody decisions. As soon as we sat down, her lawyer said Mia had been living in her car since her parents evicted her. I asked why she didn't stay with Zoe, who helped create this situation. Mia didn't respond, instead asking if I'd let her come home or try marriage counseling. I told her to ask her parents if she could return home. The house where her children and I lived was off limits to cheaters. She and Zoe should stay away. As for counseling, she could try that with whoever was foolish enough to marry her next, but I was certain she could never be faithful after living promiscuously for so long. Her lawyer objected to my language and tone. I told him he was a money grubber just for representing such a person, and asked if she was paying him through adult content or sexual favors. Tara touched my shoulder to calm things down, and asked if we could be more civil. I requested a break because I'd already prepared my next verbal attack and needed to cool off. We took 20 minutes, and I went to my car to escape everyone. I considered scratching Home Sweet Home on Mia's car hood, but new cameras were watching, and I already had enough legal issues. I saw fast food trash in the passenger seat and clothes piled in the back. Living the nightmare. What she'd done to her life and mine. With professional help, I'm trying to release the hate, but I saw no reason to show her any respect or decency. Nothing about her deserved respect. Back in the meeting, I glared at Mia and her lawyer to silently convey my contempt. Tara restarted by asking Mia if she'd sought therapy. She claimed she lacked time due to physical therapy and money, since insurance wouldn't cover it. Tara asked if Mia would attend therapy if we paid. I turned to Tara so quickly I nearly got whiplash, but she kicked me under the table to signal she had a plan. Her lawyer immediately said Mia would only see a therapist of her choosing, regardless of who paid. Tara said that was fine, but suggested therapy might help Mia process emotions to be a better mother. I still thought Tara had lost her mind, but let her continue. The lawyer said they'd discuss it and respond later. My lawyer stated that despite being opposing counsel, as a woman she wanted all women in her cases to get needed help. Her delivery was so convincing, I thought my own lawyer had betrayed me. When Mia poisoned my soul, it affected my entire body. On good days, I feel numb. On bad days, tension fills me. Depression causes physical pain, and some mornings I wake up sore for no reason. She cried hearing me describe the pain her actions caused. I asked what I ever did to justify such cruel betrayal. She cried harder. I asked what she thought she deserved after what she'd done. Not what she wanted, but what should happen to someone who ruined their life through promiscuity. She broke down completely. I was tired of tears and silence. The meeting ended with her lawyer trying to remove her, as she repeatedly begged forgiveness. I kept telling her to go home elsewhere because we were done talking. When they left, I demanded Tara explain why she'd offered to pay for Mia's therapy. She explained it would look favorable to the court, but Mia was clearly unstable and struggling. If a professional recommended or insisted she needed hospitalization, so be it. In a distraught state, getting institutionalized is easy, even overnight. Allowing her to see a professional might help her, but could also benefit us when they see her mental state. She deceived me for 6 years about my entire life. I feel no guilt about not revealing my true intentions for wanting her to see a therapist. If she thinks family therapy might happen, fine. Mia excels at digging her own grave. I hope that continues. This wasn't a short update, but it's as condensed as possible. The kids are doing well. Logan is pitching in baseball since he's tallest on his team. He plays well despite the larger strike zone. I'm taking him with Dan and his sons to see a baseball game next week. Ella is as beautiful and sweet as ever. She loves the pool, and it's been great having friends with kids over to enjoy it. I want to raise children too busy with life to stare at phones all day. That might make them feel out of place in society, but they'll be my wonderfully different kids. Thanks for all the kind words and support. Each day brings new challenges, but knowing so many have my back means more than words can express. Peace, and thanks to all. I threw myself into creating a stable routine for the kids. Logan has baseball practice Tuesday and Thursday evenings, while Ella does ballet on Wednesdays. Weekends are for family activities, hiking, swimming, cooking together. I've learned to braid Ella's hair for ballet, and how to remove grass stains from Logan's white baseball pants. These mundane tasks feel like anchors keeping me grounded when everything else is chaos. Edit. Some people thought Heather and her parents knew Mia cheated before I did. I told her parents about catching her cheating the same morning I told mine. They knew nothing before I told them. I learned later that Mia cheated with multiple men, one being Ella's father. I told Mia I wasn't Ella's biological father. I assumed she told her family, and when her dad mentioned those men, I thought he knew she'd been with numerous partners. I love her family and don't want to hurt them more than necessary. Mia admitted a couple of affairs to them. That's it. I was protecting Ella and assumed Mia would discreetly tell her family. I stopped contact with them and communicated through Karen and Tara until I ran into Heather. We learned Mia hoped to keep it that way. Sorry for any confusion. Final update. A few weeks ago, I logged into this throwaway account for the first time in almost a year. There were many messages asking how the kids and I are doing. I wanted to ignore them all and never return because I've gotten my life back on track, and dwelling on the past hinders progress. But the advice from Reddit was supportive throughout my lowest points. For those who helped so kindly, I'll make this final update. I owe a huge thank you to many who helped me navigate an unexpected minefield. Most readers have likely forgotten my posts, which is understandable. This will be long. Much has happened since my last update, and this can't be explained briefly. Everything has been finalized beyond what I ever imagined. When I last posted, Mia had been evicted from her parents' house for hiding that I'm not Ella's biological father. I told them about catching her cheating the morning I told them about our accident, but she hadn't revealed that the man I caught her with was just one of many. Mia was living in her car with nowhere to go after being disowned. Meanwhile, I was trying to legally adopt Ella after the court confirmed I wasn't her father. Tara was attempting to get Mia to see a therapist, hoping it might benefit my case. Tara recommended 2 local psychiatric practices to Mia's lawyer, offering to pay for sessions or letting her choose another therapist. I had reservations about paying or doing anything helpful for Mia. If you learn nothing else from my experience, take this advice. Always listen to your lawyer. Mia chose a local psychiatrist who immediately recognized her instability. For her safety, the doctor committed Mia to the hospital's psychiatric ward overnight for observation. That overnight stay became months of psychiatric care. Due to confidentiality, I never learned her diagnosis, but her attorney said each time he saw Mia, she was heavily sedated. Those months in treatment delayed our divorce and custody hearings. However, since Mia wasn't contesting and her lawyer could represent her, my petition to adopt Ella proceeded. Despite recent sadness, hearing the judge question Ella and listening to her answers made me incredibly happy. Ella didn't know the court had declared her not my daughter at my request, so she found it funny when the judge asked if she wanted me as her daddy. I was so proud, though she couldn't understand why. She was just happy when I told her I loved her as she hugged me as her adopted father for the first time. I was glad Logan witnessed this, but grateful Mia wasn't present. Neither child really understood the proceedings, but Ella is now legally my daughter, despite sharing no DNA. When I caught Mia cheating, my love for her vanished instantly. Until reuniting with Ella, I feared I'd lose all love for her too, or resent her because of her mother's actions. Feeling that love again was such a relief. I wouldn't have been wrong if I couldn't accept her, regardless of others' opinions. If paternity matters enough legally to make a man support his biological child, it matters enough for a man to reject a child who isn't his. But I needed Ella in my life. I'd lost too much already, and she needed a father who had loved her entire life. Honestly, a tiny part of me will always feel broken because she isn't biologically mine. Learning that was devastating beyond words. I know I'm doing my best in this situation. I believe time and love matter more to children than material things, which remains my focus. Besides Mia's mental health issues, there was no reason to delay the divorce. She wasn't getting anything from me, and even her lawyer admitted she had no hope for custody then. If she ever left treatment and found stable housing, she could petition for visitation or custody. The court appointed a legal aid to verify Mia was competent to proceed. Her lawyer had her sign the divorce papers with witnesses present. I appeared in court with Tara a week later for attorneys to finalize details. 2 weeks later, I was legally divorced from my biggest mistake. I should have been happy, and I was. Signing those papers symbolically ended our marriage, yet it felt anticlimactic. Mia's family remained firm about disowning her after learning everything. Part of that was likely to stay on my good side for visiting the kids. Though they knew she was hospitalized, they never visited, nor did I. From our conversations, I could tell how disgusted they were by their daughter's behavior. They were embarrassed for others to know how promiscuous she'd been. I understood completely. Knowing Mia had been with so many men made me ashamed to admit I'd ever been intimate with her. Heather ensured everyone knew what Mia and Zoe had done, except the paternity fraud. Through social media and conversations, word spread about their activities. Within a month, almost everyone knew about Mia's years of cheating, and they all planned to shun her if they encountered her again. It was somewhat humiliating knowing how trusting I'd been. But in relationships, you either trust or don't, and she'd never given me reason for suspicion. It wasn't until shortly before I caught her that I even considered infidelity possible. Looking back, I missed some warning signs, but she covered her tracks well. I should have ended girls' nights out once her depression improved, just on principle. But the night she stayed out was the first and only time that happened. She'd call if she was going to be even 15 minutes late, which was rare. I was worried because it was so unlike her. I wanted to ensure her safety. Many probably think I was oblivious for not knowing sooner. By keeping things purely sexual and limiting encounters with each man, she left no trail to follow. She wasn't attached to her phone or protective of it, so I never felt the need to investigate. She portrayed herself as a loving wife and mother. I wasn't the only one deceived. Many friends have said they were shocked and would have told me if they'd known. They were as clueless as I was. If Mia's behavior had been obvious, I and everyone else would have noticed. But everything she presented to the world was a complete lie. Nobody wanted anything to do with her, and no one cared if she remained institutionalized forever. The problem with having no contact with Mia was that we were blindsided when they released her. Confidentiality laws prevented the hospital from notifying us. I don't know if she convinced doctors she was stable or if they felt they'd done all they could. They discharged her on a Tuesday before noon. She somehow went from the hospital to her car at her lawyer's office, then drove to the children's school. When told she couldn't see or check out the kids, she caused enough commotion that the school called me. I told them to call police and said I'd arrive quickly. En route, I called Heather to let her know Mia was no longer in treatment. I didn't know if she'd been released properly or had escaped, but would find out at the school. Heather said she'd inform her parents, my parents, and Dan, and asked me to keep her updated. When I arrived, 2 police cars and an ambulance were outside with lights flashing. I identified myself to an officer who directed me through a side entrance to the cafeteria. I was relieved no one had alerted Logan or Ella, and classes continued normally. Police had Mia seated at a table. She tried to stand when she saw me, demanding to see her children. They restrained her as I asked if they'd verified her release with the hospital. They said while certain information required a warrant, the hospital confirmed her authorized release. Mia cried and again demanded to see the children. I told her to have her lawyer file for visitation. Without a professional evaluation saying otherwise, she was an unfit parent. She claimed the kids were the only people who still loved her. I said that was probably true, but they're children who don't know better. The officer laughed before composing himself. Mia lunged at me but was held back. She said she hadn't seen the kids in months, and they were her only motivation during treatment. I explained I didn't care about her struggles with consequences. There was no way I'd expose our children to her drama that day. I requested a restraining order against her. The officer agreed to start the paperwork, though a judge would need to approve it. He explained to Mia that since I wouldn't allow her to see the kids, they'd already spoken with the principal. She needed to leave immediately and not return until she had a court order granting partial custody. Surprisingly, she didn't escalate further. She must have realized nothing would work in that moment. She collected her purse and keys and was escorted to her car by an officer. She drove away while the other officer and I completed restraining order forms and spoke with the principal. After school, I picked up Logan and Ella. About 2 miles from school, I thought I saw Mia's car pull out from a restaurant as we passed. I made 3 consecutive right turns to return to our original street. I spotted her car ahead and accelerated to observe her. She was oblivious that I'd maneuvered behind her. She was clearly searching for someone, the very person now watching her. The kids didn't even recognize her car ahead of them. Thankfully, a Reddit user had advised installing cameras with audio recorders in my vehicles. This provided evidence that Mia was stalking us, despite police warnings. I went directly to the police station and showed the magistrate footage of Mia waiting for us to pass, following, and then losing us. She assured me this would be submitted to the judge, and I should hear about the restraining order soon. 2 days later, while at work, police called saying the order had been filed and served that morning. Mia must stay 200 yards from me and the children at all times. She couldn't contact us except through attorneys. They instructed me to call immediately if she violated the order. I felt relieved having legal protection, but expected her to ignore it by trying to contact us. Surprisingly, we heard nothing from Mia. Heather said she hadn't contacted her or their parents. I expected her to seek free legal help for custody, but no one contacted Tara. 2 months passed without news, which was somewhat unsettling. About 3 months ago, I received a large manila envelope in the mail. The address was handwritten with only Sydney, Australia as the return address. I couldn't imagine who had sent it or why. Inside was an extremely long letter from Mia explaining her whereabouts and assuring me she wouldn't return. I was stunned by both the distant postmark and the sender. Her explanations and rationalizations for her behavior were even more astounding, a delusional perspective that let her sleep at night. Her manifesto filled gaps about her experiences and what led her there. She explained having a breakdown during her initial therapy session. For about 2 months in the hospital, she was heavily sedated on various psychiatric medications. She said for a long time, she just wanted to die. Through therapy and group discussions, she explored why she behaved as she did. Other patients in group therapy looked at her like she was foolish for throwing everything away. They came from broken homes, abuse, addiction, and violence. Her life had been comparatively easy. When she finally grasped how badly she'd ruined everything and that her old life was gone forever, she had another breakdown. Her first breakdown came from facing her past, the second from facing her future, or lack thereof. She detailed her feelings of loss and heartache, attempting to garner sympathy. Mia had the nerve to claim that when I caught her cheating, what upset her most was knowing I instantly stopped loving her forever. She said whenever she felt guilty over the years, she rationalized it by telling herself I wouldn't love her if I knew what she was doing, and she wanted my continued love. She was right. Seeing her with another man immediately killed all my feelings for her. She said knowing I truly no longer loved her broke her heart, because despite everything, she still loved me. She swore having sex with all those men never diminished her love for me. I'd hate to know how she'd have treated me if she'd hated me. She had the audacity to call me her best friend and soulmate, saying she never wanted romantic connections with anyone else. She said having men openly express wanting nothing but sex with her and surrendering to primal instincts without concern for consequences was exhilarating. She confessed that after cheating a few times, Zoe convinced her humans weren't meant to be monogamous. She claimed she would have allowed me to sleep with other women, but knew I wouldn't want that. She said being able to hook up with a man she met at a store and still be home to make dinner made being a wife and mother feel less hopeless and mundane. She tried to suggest I somehow benefited from her promiscuity because it taught her to be a better lover with me. First, would have preferred complete celibacy to being married to someone so morally bankrupt. And what kind of man would be intimate with a woman who offered herself so casually? Those men are equally worthless. Next time, try self-control instead of destroying a family. Call me old-fashioned. I'm sure many readers have called me that or worse. But if you feel you need sexual exploration, that's your choice. Many live that way now. But the time for exploration is before having children. It's before marriage. And it's definitely before cheating on your husband with so many men that you bear a stranger's child and pass it off as your husband's. However, if your exploration makes you someone only the most desperate person would commit to, so be it. If while dating Mia had said she needed to break up to sleep with random men she just met, I would have accepted that. It would have shown she lacked the morality, loyalty, and trustworthiness I wanted in a wife. If she'd revealed her true nature while dating, all this could have been avoided. I wouldn't have cared how many partners she had, as long as I wasn't one of them. She was either always unworthy of my love, or became unworthy through unforgivable actions. But just as she can't undo her promiscuity, I can't go back and remove her her from my life. Her actions proved she doesn't deserve anyone's time or love. She'll end up a last resort at some Australian bar, allowing anyone drunk enough to find her attractive a few minutes of companionship. She wrote how heartbroken she was receiving notice that I was removing my name from Ella's birth certificate. Mia said she understood I couldn't bear to look at her anymore, and our daughter was just a reminder. She claimed what hurt more was my petition to adopt Ella, showing that while I couldn't give Mia another chance, I had enough love to give one to the product of her infidelity. She admitted feeling jealous of Ella. Knowing her children would enjoy all the comforts she once took for granted devastated her. Her words revealed her self-centeredness. She couldn't prioritize me or even her own children. Yet she hated knowing she'd miss important moments in their lives. She imagined seeing social media pictures of what she was missing, feeling like being stabbed. She explained that after the school incident, she tried reconnecting with old friends that night. The few who spoke to her were direct about their disgust and wanted nothing to do with her. Most pretended not to know her or ignored her. Some warned that if they discovered she'd been with their partners, there would be consequences. She realized her community had turned against her. Her former boss and co-workers knew everything, so she couldn't return to her job. The other driver's insurance had provided monthly payments until her hospitalization. When she stopped physical therapy, the insurance company closed her case. She had no money. Finding work close enough to potentially see the kids wasn't happening quickly enough for survival. She pawned items to subsist while job hunting online, which is when she met an Australian man. They chatted for several days before he invited her to visit. She'd been considering cashing out her 401k despite the tax penalty. The Australian invitation was her tipping point. She said he's a good man with a son needing a mother. Poor child is getting an unstable stepmother, and this man is getting a deceptive partner. He clearly has no idea what she's done or is capable of. She'll become an Australian citizen, avoid the IRS, and never be my problem again. This was her last contact, and hopefully will remain so. Part of me thinks she heard Australia began as a penal colony and misunderstood the term, but if it keeps her away and out of my life, she can do whatever she wants. I sympathize with Australians as another toxic species enters their ecosystem. These are the challenges you face from mocking Earth's gravity all these years. Yes, I'm delighted she's gone and have every right to be. But Australia, sincerely, thoughts and prayers. You might want to reconsider your gun laws. Between psychiatric medication and STD treatment, she could bankrupt your healthcare system. I hope she stays away. Potential arrest for tax evasion with federal prison time upon return should reinforce that. My therapist has helped tremendously, especially with anger management, though readers probably can't tell. During one intense session, my therapist and I had a breakthrough. For a long time, I was angrier at myself than at Mia. People discuss forgiveness, setting you free. I had so much anger, I assumed it was all directed at Mia. Actually, I held myself to higher standards. I was punishing myself because I couldn't believe I'd chosen so poorly. Yes, Mia was the deceitful cheater, but I chose her and ruined my own life. I would definitely be better off having never loved Mia, and Tennyson was completely wrong about loving and losing. Many asked about Zoe. I learned that after Mia was evicted, she did go to Zoe's. Apparently, Mia thought Zoe owed her shelter after contributing to our marriage's collapse. Zoe felt she'd only enabled Mia to do what she wanted and owed her nothing. This apparently led to a heated argument ending with hair-pulling, profanity, and punching. Word spread about Zoe's role in destroying my marriage, making things difficult for her. I don't use social media. I don't consider Reddit social. But I'm told she lost followers and friends online and faced harassment. In real life, 2 stylists quit her salon because of her actions. Remaining stylists had customers questioning how they could work there or requesting they change salons. Within months, she couldn't pay rent and closed. Last I heard, Zoe works at her brother's restaurant in Connecticut as a hostess. When she left town, I wanted to demolish her condo like Forrest Gump did to Jenny's childhood home because of what happened there. But neighbors in adjoining units objected. Many commenters suggested chemistry between my lawyer Tara and me. I thought they were delusional, but I'm apparently still oblivious to women's interest. After the divorce was finalized, since she wasn't handling my abandoned civil suit, I had drinks with her and colleagues to celebrate. As others gradually left, she said she needed to discuss one more matter. I expected a request for a review on their website. Instead, she said after working on my case, she appreciated how loyal I'd been to my wife and remained to my children. She admitted developing attraction to me during the divorce, but couldn't express it as my lawyer. She confessed I was difficult to read, and she couldn't tell if I felt anything for her, but she recognized a good man and decided to take her chance. It was flattering, especially after learning you weren't enough to keep your wife faithful to dozens of men. And Tara told me this before I gave her a well-deserved bonus, so I believe her sincerity. She just said, if I ever wanted drinks or conversation to call her. Tara is beautiful. Few men would disagree except the visually impaired. She's brilliant, talented, and composed. She clearly exercises regularly. Lawyers like looking good in court. She dresses elegantly sexy, which I appreciate. At one hearing when she entered in a pinstripe suit, I think the judge would have given me custody of his own children after seeing her. Even as jaded as I am, she would be an amazing partner for any man she chose. But for me, that, or any relationship, isn't worth the effort. I know I would unconsciously judge her past, which she doesn't deserve and can't change. Unfortunately, any woman I felt interest in would face the same unfair judgment. Many men messaged urging me to use dating apps for casual encounters, just to move past Mia being my only partner. I couldn't do that. A friend showed me local Tinder options. I won't be downloading it. If I wanted to address my limited experience, as one message suggested, I would have pursued Tara. It infuriates me that Mia took something I enjoyed and removed it from my life forever. Recalling our intimate moments makes my skin crawl, knowing she did the same things with many others. In Western society today, having only one partner either makes me prudish or desperate, yet I feel contaminated just from being with Mia. She destroyed everything that made intimacy special to me. Our exclusivity, vows, and union were squandered so she could experience casual encounters, and she lied endlessly. For a long time, I'd recall anything positive she ever said about me and assume it was also a lie. She made me doubt my sanity, parenting abilities, strength, and worth. I won't return to that. I have no one, yet I'm living. That proves there's no woman I can't live without. I'm already doing it. I have no animosity toward women and want the best for them, as Ella will be a woman someday. But nothing any woman offers would improve my life, only complicate it. If some women don't feel that way about men, they should. Humans, male and female, are toxic to each other and untrustworthy. Many asked about finding Ella's biological father. I've researched DNA ancestry sites extensively. My main concern is that when matches occur, companies alert both parties. As Ella's protector, I don't want anyone coming looking if a match appears. She's healthy with no apparent genetic issues, so I'll wait a while for testing. My current plan is to wait until at least her mid-teens, possibly her 20s. I could even consider never telling her I'm not her biological father. If there's any advice I still need from Reddit, it would be what's truly best for Ella. After everything, would never telling her be good or bad? Should I wait until she's a teen or adult at 18? I'm not worried about myself. I know the truth. I'm preparing for future scenarios, good and bad. How likely is she to develop a medical condition requiring paternal medical history? Please understand, any DNA testing would happen years from now at the earliest. With her mother so recently gone, I don't want to do anything that might make her feel less secure or confident in her identity and mine. It's strange being in my position, and I sincerely hope both children took after their fathers. In closing, I want to thank Reddit user Cranach particularly for advice during my ordeal. You may not be ancient, but your wisdom exceeds your years. You analyzed Mia accurately and predicted vulnerabilities I'd overlooked. When you said she was desperate, I believed you. But wow, Mia truly played with fire and got burned. Thank you for helping her face consequences. To everyone else who guided me or sent encouragement, thank you. I plan to post this, wait half a day, respond to some comments over a few days, then close this chapter. I rarely think about Mia anymore, staying busy with my new life. I don't want to dwell on the past longer than a few days. My children are my world, and I love my job, which keeps me occupied. The salary is just a bonus for doing something enjoyable. To Australians reading this, I meant no offense. You didn't deserve this any more than I did. Remember, if she gets drunk, does a split wearing no underwear, and gets stuck to the floor of your bar, gently rock her to break the suction. To all readers, thank you, and good day, or night. To those who didn't finish, I had a therapy session at lunch today. I'd sent my therapist this post, and all comments. She loved you all for encouraging something with Tara. She urged me to proceed slowly but honestly with her and myself. After my session, I called Tara asking to visit for her expert opinion. After dropping the kids at their grandparents', I stopped by her firm. Having no game, since I never needed it, I don't know how to flirt. I only have kindness, humor, and sincerity. When she realized I had no legal concerns, she smiled knowingly. I told her I'd been thinking a lot since our conversation. I'm terrified to open up, but also certain I need to respond to her courage in expressing interest. I admitted I couldn't see how things would work, given our differences. When she asked which differences, I mentioned the kids and her having none. She said she's enjoyed meeting them, and asked if I had issues with her not being a mother yet, which I didn't. I mentioned concerns about her petite frame and my height potentially causing accidental injury. She promised she was tougher than she looked, saying, big things come in small packages. Nervous, I replied. I wasn't ready for sex, but appreciated the offer. She blushed and laughed hard. At least she appreciates my awkward humor. In short, we both have the holiday weekend off. Thursday night, I'm driving us to a nice restaurant, then a fantastic martini bar. It's a first step, and while nervous, I feel comfortable with her. We'll take things slowly, but I can't continue with an audience, so this is my final post. If things work out, great. If not, I can accept that too. I don't want to disappoint anyone if it doesn't work out, so I hope you understand. Thank you all for helping me through hell and standing with me. My therapist thanks you too. May you know love, success, and peace for helping a stranger rebuild his broken life. Bless you all. As I walked out of Tara's office that day, the late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the parking lot. For the first time in over a year, I felt something like anticipation. Not exactly hope yet, but the faintest possibility that my life might contain more than just surviving for my children's sake. The kids were happily settled at my parents' house for the evening, giving me rare time to myself. I drove home slowly, windows down, feeling the spring air on my face. Our first date was at an upscale Italian restaurant where the tables were spaced far enough apart for privacy. Tara wore a simple blue dress that brought out her eyes, and she seemed so different outside the formal setting of her office. We talked for hours about everything except my divorce, books we'd read, places we wanted to visit, our favorite childhood memories. When she laughed at my terrible jokes, I felt something I hadn't experienced in a long time, the simple pleasure of making someone happy. The martini bar afterward was dimly lit with jazz playing softly in the background. I nursed one drink, all evening, wanting to stay completely present. When Tara placed her hand on mine across the table, I didn't pull away. It was just a touch, nothing more, but it was the first time I'd allowed anyone that close since everything happened. I drove her home and walked her to her door, where we said goodnight with a simple hug. No pressure, no expectations, just two people acknowledging there might be something worth exploring. I don't know where this journey leads, but for the first time, I'm willing to find out. Mia took so much from me, but she doesn't get to take my future too. Logan and Ella deserve to see that life can heal after being broken, that love might be worth a risk despite the scars, and maybe, just maybe, I deserve that chance too.